Hello, I'm Mish, and I invite you in today to be inspired, invigorated, and nourished. This podcast, in her own way, is for women who are ready to empower themselves to live an aligned life that is unapologetic, rich, and radiant. An open discussion that is transparent about the struggles, tips, and stories of women who have come to live in their own truth, power, and sense of self. I'm absolutely thrilled that you're here and with me on this journey. On today's podcast, we have Marisa Johnson, who, along with her husband Michael, have had an amazing 2 years of living their faith and living where they feel called. She comes on to talk about her decision in 2015 to travel the United States in an RV and then work with her 4 children and her husband homeschooling in the Dominican Republic, working for Operation Underground Railroad and the aftercare facilities for those who were victims of sex trafficking and sexual abuse. This is an amazing podcast with such beautiful nuggets of wisdom about love, acceptance, living your dreams, following your heart, following your purpose, and just in general living a really, really good story. So I hope that you enjoy and I hope that you're inspired. Marisa, I'm super excited to have you here. I just totally connected with you on a mastermind group that we're on. I thought, you know what? They are having such a cool life. And I'm sure you have been doing this forever, what you guys are doing, traveling the world. And just, I don't know, I just really connected with the adventure that you guys are creating for your family. So could you just tell us a little about yourself and where you're kind of maybe where you're at and how that's evolved?
Absolutely. Well, like you said, my name is Marisa, and I have a wonderful husband and 4 children. And in 2015, our family basically sold everything, and we bought an RV and spent a year traveling the United States. And then most recently, we spent a year in the Dominican Republic volunteering for Operation Underground Railroad, working with human trafficking survivors.
I love that. I didn't realize you were doing our.
Yes.
So why then? So you have 4 kids. How old are they?
My oldest is 17. So I have a 17-year-old son, a 14-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old son, and an 8-year-old daughter.
So you said to the kids 3 years ago, we're going to get into an RV and travel the U.S.
Yeah, we
And what did they say?
They thought it was a joke. And then they thought, no, we don't want to leave our friends.
Yeah.
But it really was something that we felt we were supposed to do, that God was putting this in our hearts, that this was something that we were supposed to do. So we asked our kids to pray about it and get their own confirmation that it was the right thing for our family. And so we gave them the opportunity to get their own answer to that. And they all did. And they all agreed after getting their own confirmation that it was what our family was supposed to be doing.
I love that. I've heard a couple other people do that with their children as well, like making business decisions or family decisions that are not just the parents kind of saying you have to do this, but it was an idea, and then the confirmation came from prayer with their kids. I think that's such a beautiful way to bond your family. So what did you guys do before their RV then? Did you guys run a business or were you working?
Well, I have a doTERRA essential oil business, and my husband was working full-time in the financial industry.
Okay. Yeah.
And we basically had a double income. My doTERRA income got to the point where I was matching his income. We had double income, and we thought, okay, so we can continue to run this rat race where he's working all day and I'm raising the kids and he's barely seeing them. I'm off doing these cool and amazing things, homeschooling the kids, taking these adventures, and he's left home thinking, okay, well, when I retire, then I get to experience this amazing life, but it will be without my kids. And so we took a hard look at that and said, okay, well, we can cut our income in half, and instead of accumulating money, let's start accumulating memories.
Oh, it's so beautiful. So tell me about the YouTube channel that you guys have created. When did you guys start creating that?
We didn't actually start creating that until we were on the RV trip.
Yeah.
And the name of it is Living a Good Story. And we got the name from a book that we had read. It's actually the pivotal moment in our lives that actually opened up our eyes and said, okay, we are all living a story.
Yes.
Each of us is.
Yes.
And And you can live a really good story or you could live a boring story. And we took a hard look at our own lives and said, we are living a really boring story. And so we have the opportunity to make a change. And so we said, well, what is it that we actually want to do? And we just kind of came up with this idea. It's something that we had dreamed of doing with the kids, but said it will never be possible. Living in an RV and traveling the country for a year, that's just impossible with kids or with a job. You can't do it. But we said, this is something that we want to do. Let's make it happen. We can cut our income in half and let's just do it. And that was really a pivotal moment, was reading that book. It's called A Million Miles in a Thousand Years by Donald Miller.
Such a good book.
It's an amazing book.
It's such
And
a
it
good
opened
book.
up, yeah, it opened up our eyes to, life can either be creating us or we can create life. Once we were on the RV trip, we said, let's share our life with other people and maybe we'll inspire some people to live their own good story. So the name of our channel is Living a Good Story, and we got the name from the book
That's
by
so
Donald
beautiful.
Miller.
That book is top 10 book, like probably top 5 books of my life.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I remember when he first came out with Blue Like Jazz, I was in college
Yeah.
university for the Aussies who are listening. I remember Blue Like Jazz. I was a really kind of new Christian. I was kind of raised Lutheran-ish, kind of growing up, kind of floating in and out. I remember reading that story going, oh my goodness, I love it. And then I read A Million Miles in a Thousand Years. Amazing book. Like
It is.
I'm actually so funny that you said that because I've been feeling really called to go back and reread it. So my confirmation. So your husband's working full-time in finance. You're starting your doTERRA business. You have 4 kids at the time that would have been 7-ish all the way up to 15-ish. So you get in the RV and then the next thing you think is, let's go to the Dominican Republic.
Well, we were at the end of our year-long RV trip and we had all these possibilities available to us.
Beautiful.
We could continue the RV trip. We could go back home. We had rented out our house. We could go back home and live there. We could travel the world. The sky was the limit. And so we really had to be thoughtful and prayerful and meditative, if that's even a word, about what we wanted to do. And we got this answer that we needed to go back home, and within about 6 months that something else would become available. We would know our next step. And so that's exactly what we did. We were just kind of feeling around, trying to feel what we were supposed to be doing. And I ended up on a humanitarian trip in Ecuador. And while I was there, I met the aftercare director of Operation Underground Railroad. And both my husband and I had volunteered, done fundraising for Operation Underground Railroad, and we're really passionate about the aftercare side of the Operation Underground Railroad. And I met the aftercare director and I said, hey, what is it that I can do to help with aftercare? And just kind of expecting her to say, hey, come to this fundraiser that we're doing next month. But she got really quiet. She looked at me right in the eyes, and I felt like she was looking at me right in my soul. And she said, you can go to the Dominican Republic for a year and volunteer your time. And immediately I thought, yes. And, sometimes time stands still, but sometimes time goes really fast. And I thought through in just a matter of 1 second exactly how I could make that happen. We had just gotten home from the RV trip. We had rented out our house. We had everything lined up to leave for another year to make that possible. We were already homeschooling our kids. We had already done that outside of Utah. And that confirmation came over in a split second that said, yes, that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. This is what I have prepared for you. And I said, I'm pretty sure that we can do that. I need to check with my husband, but I'll let you know in about 10 minutes.
I love that. Like, let me just check with them. I'll just casually go over at like the cake stand and be like, hey, did you want to go to the Dominican Republic for a year and volunteer with our 4 kids?
And I did. I texted him and he texted me immediately right back and said, I'm all in. When do we start?
Your husband, I've only met him one time on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
I think I just immediately was like, I think I really like this man. He is just like, there is something like both of you are really different, but he is just this really sweet. I don't even know. He just like that type of guy you just want to be around. Like I think he sees where needs, I don't know. I don't even know him, but he's like, he just sees where the needs are. And I could just totally him see him being like, yes, Marissa, this is crazy, but we are in. Cause it feels like you guys have this connection to your soul,
Yeah,
your faith. Like you run on faith, you run on that kind of gas, you know? Is that a fair
absolutely.
assessment?
That is a very fair assessment. I'm kind of a let's jump in and just try it. And he's more of a let's step back and actually think through this. He's
Mm,
very grounded and very full of faith. He's very loyal and very thoughtful in everything he does. And
yeah.
so we do balance each other out very well that way. I like to jump in faith, and he likes to reflect in faith.
Yeah.
And so we're very extreme on both ends of there, and we kind of meet in the middle, and he balances me out and I balance him out. I would jump into too many things and he would just sit around and not do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But together we make this perfect balance of jumping into the right things
I love
with
that.
faith.
Now, this isn't a question I was going to ask you, but I just feel like I need to ask you this. Where do you feel like maybe God changed you in that 12 months that you were in the Dominican Republic? If you're looking back on that, I know one of the questions I always like to ask people is like, what are the lessons that you learned? But I feel like more specifically in that 12 months of service, where do you think that your hearts were softened or awakened?
In what kind of experiences or in what ways?
In what ways? What are the things that you took away from it?
There are so many lessons that
Yeah.
we learned over that year living in the Dominican Republic. Probably the biggest thing that I took away from the Dominican Republic is love. That everybody needs love, including me, including my family.
Mm,
That love is what changes everything. That as we love our neighbors, as we love our families, as we love ourselves, that's where true change and real change happens. And it can't happen unless we are filled with love for ourselves and with love from others. And so it's this balance between needing each other, that I need you to love me and you need me to love you. And
mm,
that's the way that this world is going to start to change and blossom into something that isn't so evil and isn't so overwhelming. I learned that there is a lot of evil out, but overpowering that is the good. There are more good people than bad people. There's more good happening as we look around and see all the good that is around us. There really is beautiful and amazing things happening.
mm.
And you and I get to be a part of that in big or small ways.
Yeah.
That a lot of people say, oh my gosh, look at what an amazing thing you did moving to the Dominican Republic. But I look at these small and simple things that people are doing every single day in their lives,
Mm,
of ministering to their neighbors, of taking cookies to the person across the street that just had heartache. Those are the things that matter. Those are the things that are sharing love and really changing this world. We don't have to do drastic and crazy things in order to make a difference. Just doing those small and simple things with the people around us make a huge difference and a huge impact.
such an interesting comment because I was driving up today. We were driving back from Easter weekend and, I'm sunburnt and tired and I'm just like, oh my goodness, we have, 5,000 loads of laundry and you'd have even more because we only have one kid. You've got four. So, the whole laundry routine of
Yeah.
the holidays. And I was sitting there going, I got a podcast from Oprah. She's got the Soul Sessions, and she's actually been interviewing a lot of Christian leaders. Interesting. Like I listened to one, there was a guy, the Reverend from the Archdiocese in LA. And then she also interviewed one of the leaders of Hillsong in New York. And what was interesting is that no matter like what faith or what branch of Christianity or whatever, it's the theme that they kept talking about was love. This idea of pure acceptance and unadulterated love and connection. And you would have seen that, you have sex trafficking victims for Lord knows what they've seen, experienced, witnessed to personally and around them. And it's like the core healing factor is this pouring into them this love that they are worthy and accepted. And I love that that's your story. I mean, that really becomes your guys' story then of how you're kind of spreading a gospel, I guess, or a thought pattern of love in
Yeah.
whatever you feel called to do, however you feel called to serve.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful. How do
Thank
you
you.
think that that's changed your family since looking back where you were pre-RV? I'm sure that you had that in you, but now experiencing that so rawly, so figuratively. I mean, you're in the Dominican, I saw on Facebook, like, your camera got stolen, your car got smashed. I'm sure we could talk a whole, like, we probably should talk on a podcast of how to survive mission work for a year with children, like what you can learn, what you've learned, both good and bad. But how do you think I guess my question that is in my heart is like, how has it changed your marriage?
Well, anytime you put yourself out there in a hard situation, there's bound to be growth and hardships and things that are difficult.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's those hard things that make the growth and make things stronger. So without those things, I think previous to the RV trip, my husband and I were always taking the path of least resistance.
Uh,
We're always just kind of letting life create us and just avoiding anything that was difficult or hard or challenging, which never really allowed us for growth because we were always taking the easy way out. And by opting in to something challenging, it forces you to look yourself in the face, look yourself in the mirror, look at your marriage more close up and figure it out and say, okay, this is really hard. What are we going to do to step up and become stronger? And so that's what we've had to do with the relationships with our children, with the
yeah.
relationships with ourselves, our relationships with our faith, and our relationships as a couple in a marriage. We've had to step up and say, okay, time for growth, time to make ourselves stronger.
I think there are so many people. Like, I can even remember a time last September when I don't think I've ever shared, I haven't shared this with you, but like, I remember saying to my husband, I haven't been all in. Like, we've been
Mm-hmm.
married and we're happily married, but there was just that 5% where I held back a little bit because I was like, oh, maybe just in case I'll just keep myself a little bit protected. And I love that idea of just being like all in. Like,
Yeah,
it's time to be all in, and you need to have the faith that it's going to be fine. And we have to make the best of this situation, and we've got to work together. And there's so many people who, like you said before, letting life be created for us as opposed to us creating our life.
right.
That is so powerful. I'm just like, oh, that's just so courageous. I mean, I'm sure there's people around you who are like, what the heck are they doing? They have like a comfortable life. They have a nice house. They've
Yeah,
got 4 kids. He's got a job. doTERRA business is going well. They've got dual incomes. They don't have to worry about anything. And
right.
you're like, you know
We
what?
we were living
Scrap
the
it.
dream life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you
And
wanted to
then
be all in.
yeah, and that's something that's really difficult, that when you feel like you are supposed to move forward and change your life and do something different, not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody is going to understand. And it's hard. And that's what gets confusing, because you think, well, I'm doing something that's so inspired and I know that I'm supposed to be doing this, but why is it so hard? And why isn't everybody getting on board with what I want to do?
Yeah.
And you just have to really continue to turn inward and say, is this
Yes.
what's true for me? Is
I
this
love
what
that.
I'm supposed to be doing? And if the answer is yes, then you have to continue to move forward regardless of what anybody else says, regardless of how difficult things get. That's where the growth is. And you have to realize that and stay true to what it is you're supposed to be doing, because what I'm supposed to be doing is different than what you're supposed to be doing,
Yes.
and different from the rest of the world is supposed to
Yeah.
be doing.
Yeah. I love that. So other than a million miles in 1,000 years and your marriage and faith and family, I'm not undermining those, but was there any other thing that's like, oh, those things are just nice. But like, other than that, was there another book or thing that you held that really encouraged you throughout those times, or were those kind of the anchor points for you?
Those are really the anchor points. The only other thing that I can think of is my best friend Megan. She's also a dreamer, and just having somebody else that thinks similar to me, is willing to work outside of the box or
Yeah.
try different things.
Yeah.
That's been really amazing for me, to have somebody that is so supportive and so like me, and allows me to go after my dreams and encourages me to go after my dreams, no matter how crazy or bizarre they may sound or
Yeah.
seem. having that support group has been really key and essential for me.
That is beautiful. So I love what you said earlier as we kind of close up today about the act of love doesn't need to be profound. It just needs to be with intention.
Absolutely.
And it can be both profound and intention filled. But I think that is actually something that's so interesting. I was talking about this today with my friend Irvina. You have to come. You'll have to come to Australia. We'll have to feed you Australian food. So we're having like a big Australian lunch. And we were talking about, been in church for a while, and she's like, I just don't have anything profound to say. I didn't have like addiction or an eating disorder or all these type of like, huge faith moments. But I said, there are so many people, Irvina, who need your story because they're either not brave enough to do something crazy like us, or they didn't have a wayward past. They may have had just a really, normal upbringing with a really loving family, and there wasn't a huge tragedy. But we were talking about this idea of just serving in the mundane, serving in the ordinary, but being with intention. And sometimes it's really big, like the mission of hour or the mission of whatever. And sometimes it can be just in that mundane, serving people with intention is just as powerful. So I love what you said about that. I think that that's so beautiful. So
absolutely. I think there's so much power in these small and simple things. Even if you're just someone that smiles at people and is able to look at somebody in the eye, that can change somebody's whole day and their whole outlook. Being able to just be somebody that's a good listener, that seems so mundane, but it's so powerful for the person in the moment that needs that. And so I do love that. There's so much power in the mundane.
Yes. I just can't wait to watch you guys go. God has just got big plans for you, man. I don't think that you're like, we're going to go back to Utah and settle in. I was like, yeah, that's what you think.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. A lot of people want to know what our next step is. We kind of have it planned out that we're taking this 2-month trip to Thailand to experience that as a family and really decompress from the weight of what we saw and felt as a family. We didn't realize how heavily that weighed on our family, and it's time for our family to just be able to reflect on the experiences we've had over the last year and experience something different and be able to connect on a lighter level without so much heaviness and weight. But people will ask, well, what's next? And I would like to know what's next as well. But for me, it doesn't always work that way. I just have to continue to step forward in faith and know that when it comes in my path, that I will know and I will understand what it is I'm supposed to be doing, and just have faith that it will come in my path. And the timing is always perfect, even though I feel like I know what should be happening next and on what timeline. It's always perfect. In hindsight, the timing is always perfect. I don't need to worry about the timing of things, of when things are going to happen.
I love that.
Our higher power, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, he knows and is in perfect control and knows what's perfect for me and my family.
I love that. What a huge, giant permission slip. Somebody listening definitely needed that. So Marisa, where can we find you? Where can we find you online?
Well, we have a website called livingagoodstory.com. You can find us there. We also have a YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook page, all called Living a Good Story. So if you just look that up, you can find us there. Follow our adventures you can check out our RV trip, our year in the Dominican Republic, and then our 2 months following, from here, we'll be in Thailand and beyond. You can find us on YouTube if you want to follow those adventures.
I'm so excited for you. I'm so grateful for you. That was just I'm just excited to see where God takes you. And I love the permission that you've given people on so many levels to serve intentionally and then follow their dreams when they feel called to do that. So thank you so much for your time, Marisa.
Well, thank you for having me. This was really great.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me today. If you'd like more information about myself, my journey, my public speaking engagements, or life coaching with me, please head to my website, mishpope.com. If you can kindly leave me a beautiful review on iTunes, I would be forever grateful. I can't wait to connect again in the next episode.